Now, we want to talk about politics in a way that's affecting industries right now, and many states embracing the use, of course, of cannabis. And a boom spurred by the pandemic, growth shows, well, no sign of stopping going into 2022, even without some further federal legalization. Joining us now to discuss, Boris Jordan, Executive Chairman of Curaleaf. It is great to have you on the show to kick off this new year and to look ahead as to what has been slowly but surely a story of adoption across America. How much more will that likely be the case and globally in 2022?
I think that we're going to see more states in 22 and in 24 move from either medical to recreational use. I think we're also going to see new states enter the fold. We've got Virginia moving to adult use. We've got Texas looking at approving medical cannabis. It's got a small program now. They're looking at a much wider, bigger program. So I think we're going to see a lot more activity on the state side, and that's not really the problem. The states are moving very quickly to adopt cannabis. The real problem is in Washington, where Washington is completely behind the eight ball, and it's starting to affect, all the communities that Washington wants to help. It wants to help, social justice and minority communities. Well, by them stopping the Safe Banking Act, they directly hurt those communities because those are the communities that can't raise capital because there isn't a legislation allowing them to raise capital in banks at reasonable costs. And so the federal government is really behind the eight ball. We're hoping here in the first and second quarter of this year that they'll get serious about this. Now the majority of the country has adopted recreational and medical cannabis, but Washington is still very slow.
Well, I'm curious how you think they're going to do that here, Boris. I mean, we are heading into an election season. We've seen a lot of polls out there that shows relatively broad-based support for broader adoption of marijuana, both medical and recreational. Do you think that this will become enough of an issue that some of these candidates will put it on their radar screen?
Yeah, I think it's a big issue. I think the real problem is a disagreement about what they want to pass, right? Schumer and the Democrats want to pass an all-sweeping law that also releases and creates an amnesty for everyone in jail associated with cannabis. And the Republicans want to be a little bit more careful and pass something that's more business-oriented in terms of approving cannabis use around the country. And so I think it's really a dialogue. I do think we're going to have that dialogue here at the end of the first quarter and going into the second quarter. And I can tell you that, if the Democrats don't push cannabis, they are going to suffer in the midterms even more so than I think they're going to suffer anyway, due to some of the issues that we're hearing in the markets. But I think that this is a very popular issue. They ran on cannabis. Kamala Harris, President Biden, many of senators and congressmen ran on the issue, and they haven't done anything about it. And so the pressure's building in the communities around the country. If you look at Twitter, if you look at any social media site, there's a huge amount of criticism towards the Democratic Party. And frankly, the Republican Party, which was a real, we didn't ever think the Republicans are starting now to issue, to publish their own laws and their own rules on this issue and trying to compete with the Democrats for holding the mantle. But nonetheless, nothing has happened. So that's the real issue.
From your own fundamental story of your business, how are you thinking about this year coming off of some acquisitions, about the further integration, further growth of your business?
So we could not be happier. We grew 96% from 96% on our revenue side from 2020 to 2021. We hit over 1.2 billion in revenues this year. We're going to have a very strong year next year. We did 3 acquisitions in the fourth quarter. They're all going to add to our growth in next year. We can't yet talk about what that growth is going to be. We'll say that at the end of the quarter as we talk about this year's results. We will give some guidance, but at the moment, I'm very, very excited. I think it's going to be another very strong year. And this is the interesting thing. The businesses in cannabis in the United States are getting stronger and stronger and better and more profitable, but yet our stock prices have suffered. And it's all because the federal government cannot move ahead with banking. And that's what the industry needs. That's what social justice applicants need. And that's what the minority communities need in order to raise money and to be able to bank these businesses that are these licenses are being given to these communities in order to build these companies.
What does Europe look like in that respect, Boris? I mean, this is a play that you've made in terms of making your company that much more global. What do other jurisdictions look like, briefly?
Well, since we've spoken last, as a matter of fact, Germany has announced that they want to go adult use in 2023. We didn't expect that when we went into Europe. We thought that was further out. So it's actually moving in many ways faster than the U.S. With Germany now, you saw Malta passed adult use cannabis in the beginning of in December. Germany is now looking into it. Switzerland, Holland. There's a great medical program in the UK. We think that Europe may actually, the way they say, if Germany goes the way, that's the way Europe's going to go. And so if Germany actually passes, and there's no reason to think they won't because all the parties seem to be for it, if they pass adult use cannabis in 2022 and launch the program in 23, I think it's going to be a game changer for Europe. I also think it will light a fire under, who's rear-ended in the United States as well, because the U.S. government, with the largest cannabis program in the world, is way behind even Canada, Germany, and other countries that are in the world in terms of their move towards adult use.
Boris Jordan, always great to have you on. Animated, stay well. Great to have you back in the seat on the show. Thank you, Executive Chairman of Curaleaf.